Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to the Monday 10 a.m. business meeting, where we go through several department reportings and explanations of issues that may appear on Tuesday. So therefore, without further issue, well, let me add one thing. These meetings are actually very useful overall for the public to understand a lot of the issues that happen in the remainder of the week. So I encourage people to tune in. And also the public is welcome to speak at any of these. Identification isn't a necessary item. We're here to hear what you have to say, and hopefully you'll hear what we have to say also. On that note.
Good morning, Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I have a couple of requests for you. The first is a request to fill our budget analyst in Office of Administrative Services has resigned. So we're requesting to fill his position. The budget analyst, Brian Perkins, he's resigned. So he's no longer here and we'd like to fill his position.
I think
That's a
we need
no-brainer.
to go forward on that one. Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you. And then also in Office of Administrative Service, the mail clerk has put in her resignation. The last day is August 17th. So we'd like to fill her position as well.
Now, does that continue to be a part-time?
It's a
position?
part-time position.
And no proposal to change?
No proposal to change, still part-time. It works Monday through Fridays.
Well, the mail needs to be delivered.
How many hours is that?
I don't know exactly. I know she works part-time every day, probably about 4 hours a day, I'm guessing. Somewhere around
And
there.
Now does not include Friday or does include?
No,
Friday?
it will include Friday. Mail will still be delivered on Fridays.
So something like 20 hours a week.
I would guess.
Split over 5 days.
Yeah.
Okay. And those hours are specified that begin at 8 and end at noon, or it's just whenever she can come?
I believe there's somewhat of a set schedule. I know I see her, somewhere between 9 and noon. So I think that there is some sort of set schedule. It's typically
Okay.
early.
I think we've seen her in the afternoon, haven't we?
She's,
I think it's a soft schedule. of
Soft,
sorts,
yeah.
but- Okay.
It's in the middle of the day sometimes.
and her supervisor is Kathy.
Kathy.
She's been, the mail clerk has been with us for quite a while, right? Is there anything developing there that?
I believe it's more schedule wise. She was not wanting to work on Fridays anymore, but there is still a need to have the mail delivered on Fridays.
Do you know what kind of mail needs to be delivered on Friday?
I don't know specifics, but I know that there's certain things that are delivered to like the auditor's office, the clerk's office, not necessarily outside mail, but inter-office mail as well. So that will still need to continue through Fridays.
Okay, she does both internal and external
Correct.
mail.
Yes.
Sounds like we got to find a replacement.
Okay, thank you. And then I do have a request for an executive session at the end for performance of a public employee.
Do you know approximately how much time you need?
Let's say 10 minutes.
Is that optimistic?
I think we can do it in 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And Who needs to be there?
Myself and the prosecuting attorney.
Ah, okay, thank you.
And then,
Dennis, any questions? No.
and just an update on my schedule. I will be out of the office at the end of this week into next week on vacation. So I'll be back on Wednesday.
Yeah, do we allow that?
I think so.
Oh, that's
I think
HR.
it's
We
in, I
have
think
to.
it's in her agreement.
We
Casey
won't-
will be here, and then I'm also available by phone and email.
We won't ask you any details
Okay,
until you get back.
perfect. Thank you.
Budget is absent today. We have a ailing Director of Finance. I don't think anybody is going to speak on her behalf at the moment, so let's go ahead and go to corrections.
Good morning, Marin Fox, Director of Corrections. Our population today was 234. We had 51 bookings over the weekend. And I drilled down the bookings a little bit. There were 9 drug possession bookings from City of Longview and 10 DUIs overall, but that's all agencies. So the drug
Again,
possession.
please.
Sorry,
Again, but more slowly for.
sorry.
Sure.
9 drug possession arrests, 10 DUI arrests.
Ooh. Now, when you say DUI, can we infer alcohol or it can be anything?
It could be anything.
Okay, do we know if it's alcohol or not?
It's more commonly alcohol, but not 100% of the time.
I'm sorry.
It's more commonly alcohol,
Yeah.
but not 100%
Okay.
of the time.
Now, how do these numbers fit just qualitatively in your mind? Does it indicate anything?
I think the DUI, that's pretty standard for a weekend. That number of DUIs, we're still looking, the drug possession is a little bit of an unknown. So it's hard to say what normal looks like. Longview's been booking on that for a little while. The rest of the cities will fall in line, I think, August 15th.
Got it.
So Marin, the figure 254 seems high.
234.
234. Oh, okay. So that's about where we've been.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we're creeping up, but
Yeah,
we're
okay.
230, 230. I'm looking, next year I'm using 250 when I'm doing budget projection.
Right.
I don't really have anything else to report unless there are any questions.
Do you give a reward to the 300th inmate or something like that?
Yes, it's a cake.
Gotta make fun of these things where we
The
just have
lucky-
a very difficult task to try and protect the public and do so on a finance controlled situation.
If you do that cake, you try to find an old set of keys to bake inside.
Right.
Cruel.
A file, right, or
Yeah.
something.
But
Well,
you
not a
can,
file, just the keys that don't work.
you can send that cake through the body scanner, right?
Yeah, of course, yes.
Okay, good. I don't see any hands up, no
Nope.
questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Marin. I appreciate the additional information on that. More stuff like that is cool.
I'll continue to, I'll be tracking the drug possession. I'm kind of curious about how that's going to shake out. Longview will be the primary
Mhm.
booker
Yeah.
of drug possession, so I don't anticipate the numbers will increase dramatically when the rest of the cities and sheriff's office start arresting.
You've identified Longview and nothing, it's overwhelmingly Longview, nothing out of Kelso, just across the river.
Longview passed an ordinance so they could start booking on drug possession earlier. So all of those are Longview arrests.
Okay, and those are all misdemeanors then.
Right. Yep. And we're seeing most of the Longview's booking for things like illegal camping, shopping cart violations, those, I guess, nuisance things connected to homelessness. Primarily Longview is booking on that. But I mean, when you look around the community, that makes sense, right? You don't see so much of that in Kelso or in the smaller cities. So I anticipate Longview will continue to be the primary booker of drugs.
Before Blake and before COVID, was there a pretty distinct difference between Kelso and Longview
Yes.
and between Longview and the remain Castle Rock and Woodland and Kalama?
Don't hold me to this, but I would say Longview books as much as the rest combined.
Okay, and of the rest combined, I would have guessed that the ones closer to Vancouver would have given us a few more numbers. Is that true?
Say that again?
I'm thinking in Woodland, of all the other communities, I expected Woodland would produce. Of the three smaller ones, Woodland would be the next one.
Yeah, yes, Longview, Kelso, Woodland,
Okay.
Kalama, Castle Rock, probably in that order.
So all we got to do is move everyone to Castle Rock and the problem will be solved, right?
Sure. And just don't put another Walmart by I-5. It's a
Yeah.
I feel like Woodland police spend all of their time there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, actually, have you been hit with any shoplifting, or have you seen many shoplifters, any shoplifters?
Yes, always.
Always. And we had the 9 drugs. Would we have 9 shoplifters also?
I would have to, I could run some of those numbers, give a larger breakdown, maybe in the next few weeks as to what what all of our bookings look like. I could
Yeah,
look
the
at that.
shoplifting is really interesting because I've gotten lots of constituents commenting about, they see people pilfering all the time. And we know that can't be sustained.
Well, that often is the business policy, the policy of the,
Of the
of the
establishment.
business, that they're not
Yeah.
going to call for law enforcement, or they instruct their employees not to, obviously try to chase people or do anything about it. So I think that has more to do with business policy than it does with law enforcement response.
Hmm.
I've heard the same thing. Yeah.
That's really.
It was a particularly interesting adjustment when hard liquor was being sold in grocery stores, because that became, a lot easier, and the department stores or the store managers had to decide. And oftentimes it came down from corporate. No, just let them. And local managers then are held accountable if they follow corporate directives on where the cabinets are kept. And there was a time when the policy was keep the booze close to the exits, which didn't make sense from a law enforcement or management. They've adjusted since.
Well, in shoplifting, the business can trespass the individual. So then when they come back, it can be advanced to a felony as a burglary charge.
Now, from a law enforcement standpoint, what makes the difference for someone that has been trespassed as opposed to the shoplifting? Why is one easier to deal with the other from a law enforcement?
I don't know that one's easier or not, but once they've been trespassed, they've most frequently locally from like Winco. Once they've been trespassed, if they're caught in there again shoplifting, it's a felony booking for burglary.
Okay. I know the establishments are afraid of an employee getting hurt and then
Yeah.
the establishment being sued and just one of the reasons I bring this kind of stuff up is because we can see that is very destructive of our society, and people really need to know and start thinking about it. I don't mean you, I just mean the public in general has to accept that whatever policies they're trying to push somewhere, somehow, they're part of it, and it's a problem.
Well, we're doing our part, but
Yeah, well, like I
can't
said
control
before,
what
we're
they
at the end of the line
Yep.
too.
yes.
Although in today's ideology, maybe you're responsible and we just don't know
Maybe.
it. Thank you.
Good morning, Mike Bamford, Deputy Director, IT. Kim is out this week, so you're stuck with me. A few things that we have in progress right now. Our risk analysis is still moving forward. I think we have a executive session coming up here pretty soon, or a meeting coming up pretty soon to kind of go over some of the results of that. We are in progress on the phone system. It's going as we expect now that we have the schedule revised. And should be done in October, I think is when we have that scheduled to be finished. We're in license renewal season, so we have a few that we're working on in IT.
I didn't catch that last one.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're in license renewal season.
No.
So we've got licenses we're working on getting those contracts figured out and worked through. We have a couple of.
Anything out of the ordinary on that?
No, not out of the ordinary. I mean, of course, prices have gone up on things and some things like that, but it's, no, I wouldn't call it out of the ordinary, just typical. That's a
Okay,
lot
so-
more than we thought.
So we haven't found license requirements that we ignored. I mean, that was a big job that had to get cleaned up, and my understanding, it got cleaned up. I also thought that a majority of the contracts are 3 years, something like that. So
Yeah.
they're all just ongoing, but they're 3 year. So anything has changed in that?
I think there's some changes to our contract with Microsoft that we're working through concerning the structure they have, and they change their licensing quite often. So I couldn't give you specifics on that. It speaks to some of the security concerns, but there are some changes there that will probably
There'll be time for that.
Yeah, there'll be time for that.
Okay.
We've had 2 positions open for quite a while, and we've sent out conditional offers for both those positions as of this morning. So we're waiting to hear back to see if those will be filled.
Could you talk to us about each of those?
Yeah, sure. One of them's a IT tech position. It's an entry level position. And the person we're asking to come in would be at that level, coming in at entry level. And then we have a developer.
And how would you describe very quickly what an IT tech does?
They handle the help desk, work with people that are just having basic issues. It's a learning position too. You're learning about the system and also, where things are at, how to help people as best you can with minor issues. So people calling in with,
What
like
kind
this
of
doesn't work.
credentials do you look for in them?
Usually somebody who has some education in that area or has experience in that area to a minor degree. So maybe an AA degree or something to that effect. Or some training that, a certification.
Hopefully, at some point, those people that come in are going to be people that we've had intern at some point.
Yeah, sure. That'd be great. It's nice when they already know the system.
It's nice when you already know them, they know you, and it's
Yeah.
much less of a risk at that point.
Great. The other issue I think we talked about last week was the heating cooling system. And
Oh, wait,
basically,
there were 2 people and you did the IT tech?
oh, I'm sorry, developer. And that position is someone who can work with our back-end systems to help with the programming. So the person that I have identified would be able to meet those needs. So.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the cooling system was kind of the last thing on my list, and we met with Public Works, and since they are the experts in that area, they have been helping us find a solution. And as of yet, I don't know if we have nailed something down, but they're looking at different options to make sure that we get the best bang for our buck and we get something that will actually function in there with the right idea in mind of the timing.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Miscellaneous, did you want to bring anything up?
Do we have, I sent a letter out, a request from WSAC to join in a lawsuit requiring the state to fulfill their responsibilities with the folks who are mentally ill. Did that get shared?
Yes, it was sent out to the other commissioners on Tuesday, the 1st of August.
I vaguely recall that because I didn't know what to do with it.
So we tend to have folks waiting to get placed, and it's a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is the state association's efforts to try to force the issue with the state of Washington.
Was this the same one that was looking for an amicus brief of some kind?
Yeah. Well, it was one, we had been asked to do an amicus with natural gas.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that one got resolved in a different way, so
It's gone.
I think so.
Okay.
And we didn't go with it. We didn't
Yeah.
go forward with that.
Is this,
So this one, I think the request was to join with other counties in filing a lawsuit.
and we would be suing the state.
State of Washington, right?
What's your inclination on that?
My inclination is that the state needs to constantly be reminded that they have an obligation. They just can't ignore it,
Yeah,
because then our jails fill up with people who need to be in hospitals. And
Yeah.
we're not supposed to be running mental health wards in the jail. So
my guess is that all three of us would be supportive of that.
okay, well, let me go ahead and pursue that. And I don't know if, doesn't look like anybody from the PA is, well, I guess we do have the prosecutor here. We can ask.
Yeah. All right, that sounds pretty good to me.
All right.
Okay, I don't see anything else but the executive session, although let me do one last check to see what anybody in the public. I don't see any hands up. I don't see anybody here. So let's recess is the right word to executive session to discuss the performance of a public employee. We'll be gone for 10 minutes to start with. Stay tuned in case we have to extend that. Don't forget that at 11 o'clock, we have the Public Works Services group that will be speaking to us. So we are recessed.
The board is extending the executive session an additional 5 minutes until 10:40 a.m. The board is extending the executive session an additional 5 minutes until 10:45 a.m.
Hello, we're back from an executive session where the performance of a public employee was discussed. And those were fruitful discussions. I thank the prosecuting attorney for bringing bringing those issues up. No decisions were made, and now we're back in session. However, I don't think we have anything on the agenda at this point. Therefore, I don't see any hands either. Do you have any final comments?
Nope.
You want me to end the meeting and then start the 11 o'clock one? So this meeting is now adjourned.